Another swarm, another day. This colony, or other swarm that I have just caught, was in the pine tree behind. And it was a very big swarm. I'm not absolutely sure whether it came from one of our hives or not. Seems unlikely, but never say never. It could have been. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with them. They're in a very temporary flower pot hive at the moment, but that's all we had left to put any bees in, because we've now ended up with 7 colonies, having said we wouldn't go above 3. Of those 7, we do have a home for these, which we call the Westmillions, because we caught them down at Westmill. The ones in the small nucleus box, we caught them at Westmill about a week ago, or just over a week ago, and they're doing really well. They're going to some people down at Southall. The next ones we call the Paddies, because they were a cast from one of our hives, and they appeared not to have a queen after well, we think we lost the queen when we were transferring them. It was a young virgin queen, and she was a bit flighty, and we think she flew off. But when we realised they were probably queenless, we got a black native bee from Northern Ireland, hence the name, the Paddies. They seem to be doing quite well after a rocky start. And the next one we call the Meadows, and they were a swarm from our hive, which we'll see in a minute, called the Posties. And the Posties themselves were a swarm at the end of May, and the Meadows were a primary swarm from them 2 months later, just about 2 weeks ago in fact, and they seem to be doing really well. Then we have the Nectans at the same time as the Meadows swarm went off, or they were a swarm when we caught them. Near them was a cast, another group of bees, which very often they'll join up if they do go off at the same time like that, but these didn't, so we actually used them to combine with this hive, which we thought had become queenless because it had swarmed so much. So that's the Nectans. Then we have the Posties, which is the ones that were a swarm themselves on towards the end of May. It was about the 3rd week in May, and they may or may not have swarmed yet again to produce the swarm that we caught today, but I suspect not, because it was a very big swarm, more like a primary swarm really. And we think these had a virgin queen in that mated the other day. We thought we saw her, or we thought we saw activity that suggested she'd gone off on her maiden flight. Last but not least, we have the Dolphins. These are the colony that most of our bees actually came from. We got them from Paula Dolphin, imbued, years ago now. We're hoping they're all right. They have swarmed and probably sent a cast off as well this year, and we need to check them in a day or so to see whether they are okay and have a new queen. They have been behaving fairly normally, so hopefully they are all right. Okay, well, that's our apiary as it stands at the moment.